Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Finally, I have cleared the Crash solo fight. Today, I'm going to be running through you guys the small tweaks that I've made to my team in order for me to hit the DPS threshold in the fight, and then I will be doing a voiceover of it to show you guys maybe some little tips and tricks that might help you in your own clear. This fight took me maybe around 80 tries. I think probably the most frustrating thing about it for me was the 10 try limit per hour. I'm one of those people where when I'm failing at something, I will keep frickin' just ramming into the wall over and over and over and over and over until it finally breaks, or until I break and then I heal, get stronger, and do it again. So that being said, let's jump over to the event. I'm going to show you guys my team setup. This isn't really going to be like a full guide video. I'm going to be voiceovering the fight, but if you guys are looking for a guide, I put up a full Crash guide on this fight with a full PowerPoint that breaks down the fight in a lot of different ways. So just check it out. It's one of my recent videos. You guys should be able to find it pretty easily, and that should help you. However, if you're one of those people that's really close to beating the solo Crash, this video might help you guys out a lot. Now, if we jump over to the fight itself, this is not my team. This is going to be my team right here. So as you guys can see, my power is only 317,000. I think that the recommended for the EX3 was 300,000. So this is a way harder fight. So I'd say that I'm considerably under the power threshold for it. But really, it just depends on all having, you know, the right things here. So I'm going to be running Sephiroth, Red 13, and Matt. Of course, this fight is also doable with Aerith. It's doable with Yuffie, also Tifa. You need different things, more or less, but it is possible. Aerith's with Floral Rod at OB6 is also doable. The thing is that she often becomes the tank at that point because of Fairy Tail or other factors in the party. And then if she's under 50% healing or under 50% HP, then the Imperil won't actually stick, which can be tricky going from the Meteorite phase into the Wind Bar phase. That being said, I'm going to break down my team here for you guys today. All right, so I'm going to be running Sephiroth over here. He is wearing his Dark Harbinger costume. I am running the Ardent Flare Limit Break, and I recommend this one above all other ones because if you're like me and you only have a single copy of the Shinra military sword right here, then this buff is not gonna last as long as you would like. There are going to be certain times in the fight where you don't really want to spend the ATB or the time to recast that buff. Now this is where this limit break comes in handy. Whenever this thing pops up, I will use the limit break instead of casting the theatrical sword attack, just in order to save myself that and get off more Dark Heavens attacks. All right, so in the main slot, I'm going to be running Dark Heavens at OB10, level 120, though I still think this is possible at level 110. We're going to be running the Shinra military sword here as well. Basically, like I said, guys, with a lot of my previous videos, you know, in my spare time, I never level up weapons. That is just something I never do. I save all my mats. I save all my weapon vouchers. I would never just use a weapon voucher randomly on a weapon, right? Unless it was like, I mean, I don't want to say never, but 99% chance I'm just going to save it for when I need it. I had 4 saved up, and honestly, that helped me greatly in this fight. So I only ever, you know, level up weapons and use weapon vouchers when I come across something that I'm struggling to beat. And then because I didn't use them, I have them. So I do highly recommend utilizing that strategy and saving those. All right, so other than that, we're going to have, for Sephiroth's attacks here, all of these are just physical attack stat sticks. So I have 4.9% on the Thundara blow, 5% physical attack on the Aurora blow, and also 6.5% on the Fire blow right here. I do recommend not putting a cure spell on Sephiroth, as it can be, I feel like the trick of this fight is actually like working around your own team's AI. And so if you put a cure spell on Sephiroth, you will waste a lot of DPS in this fight. And if you're one of those people like me that's having trouble hitting the threshold of DPS, then you don't want him wasting ATB at all in this fight doing healing. All right, that being said, let's jump over Red 13. Red 13 is going to be my primary tank in this fight. All right, so he's running the rubber harness for heal and physical defense. We are running the Stardust Ray. Super important that you run this limit break on Red 13 if you are running him for removing the physical attack. In the main slot, we're going to have the Gold Collar, which boosts Earth resistance. So super high Earth resistance, really good for this fight. And also the single copy of the Silver Collar. So you guys saw my Initiate Banner hack video. I was able to get a copy of this weapon, and I'm very glad I did because it allowed me to put together a couple guides and get the clear on this fight. When I first started running this fight, I really felt like they were trying to push people to be pulling for the OB6 version of this weapon and the Shinra military sword. But then after just like constant failure on it over and over and over, because literally the last thing I was going to do was appease that temptation, right? I was never going to go back to the banner right before the live stream and just dump all my crystals just so I could beat this fight. I just don't think that that's like a good mindset or strategy moving forward in a game like this. It's just the way to constantly dump money into it, and that's not something that I personally want to do. If I had extra money, I would love to have all those weapons, don't get me wrong, they'd be so cool. But this was the strategy I had to do, and so in order to get around that, I just had to stomach a ton of failures in order to actually really min-max my beta for the fight. All right, so other than that, for Red 13, for his limit breaks, the only one that's really important here is the Cura in the third slot. Everything on him is being spec'd for physical defense when it comes to the materials right here. And we'll get into his stats later on, but he is going to be the one with the lowest HP since he is playing tank. Now, last but not least, we have Matt here. And I'm glad that so far that new costume of his has not been necessary, because I was able to get through this fight with the gear voucher costume right here, which gives healing and luckily physical defense. And then also his new limit break, Vanishing X, highly recommend using this. Basically him and Red 13 will switch off, removing the boss's physical attack buff. Now, Centipede is going to be at OB6, although in our crash carries, which thank you everyone who participated in that, for all of you guys that got cleared, which was a good amount of people, congrats on your clear. We will be doing another set of runs for people that haven't got their crash clear. It's going to be tomorrow, Monday the 27th at noon Pacific Daylight Time, PDT, noon PDT on Monday. All right. So, other than that, jumping back to Matt, his Centipede is at level 110, OB6. I've got the Bahamut's Rapier here at level 7, OB10 for the Diamond Sigil Break. Although Matt will always prioritize healing over Sigil Breaking in this fight, as you guys will see. Other than that, I have 2 Aurora Blows. Basically, everything on him is prioritizing healing or hit points, so that Matt has higher HP than Red 13, which is definitely a little bit harder if you don't have that new costume, right? And most importantly, we have a Cura in the third slot. The Centipede gives it a 20% heal boost, which is really critical in this fight. Now, jumping into the actual builds themselves for the characters, Sephiroth is going to be at 153,000 power, 12.9k HP, almost 5k physical attack. It's got 121 physical defense, which you can get away with probably having even less on Sephiroth. Other than that, if we look at his R abilities here, I've got HP at 6, physical attack at 7, wind potency at 8, which I think is a bare minimum, honestly. Then we have the wind mastery costume, boost physical ability potency 5, and the boost physical attack to all allies at level 3 here. Now his sub-weapons are going to be the guide gloves at OB6, the prism rod at OB10. So I had this at OB8. This was one of the weapons that I used 2 weapon vouchers on. I took my prism rod from OB8 to OB10, and I took my centipede from OB4 to OB6 in order to clear this fight. Last but not least, I have the Amaranth's Claws right here. These give a good amount of HP and physical, whatever that's called, physical ability potency. All right, now jumping over to Red 13, he is our tank, 76k power, 10.8k HP, which is basically the perfect sweet spot. We've got 205 physical defense here, so super solid tanking, 2.2k healing as well. And then in his R abilities, we're going to have HP physical defense at 4, healing at 5, but most notably earth resist at level 5. So for the 40% earth resist, super important, along with some buff debuff extension right here, and the physical attack boost to all allies. His sub weapons, I'm just running the Hell House Cannon, the Hell House Caller, and Fairy Tale for the healing and earth resistance right here. Now, last but not least, we have Matt, one of my favorite healer in the game as of right now, just an absolutely exceptional character. In my opinion, he boosts up on my character tier list now, I would say to S. He is very, 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 very solid. So Matt is going to be sitting at 87k power, 11.6k HP, so he's over red 13. He's got 157 physical defense and 2.8k healing. If we look at his back end, he's got HP 4, physical defense 3, healing at 7, some buff debuff extension at 3, so all in all pretty solid. Now his sub weapons, the last tweak I did was I dropped the guard stick out of his sub weapons. This allowed me to take the Stream Saber off of Sephiroth, equip the guide gloves on Sephiroth, put this so that it affects Sephiroth from afar, and then I lost a little healing, so that took some work in the fight, but it made Sephiroth's damage all the more better, which essentially won me this fight. All right, so other than that, we have the Feather Scatter, level 80, and the Aonibi here at OB10 for boosting his HP above red 13. All right, guys, so that is going to conclude my team build. Now, let's get into the voiceover for my clear of the Galambalor Humus Crash fight. All right, guys, so here we are coming into the solo Crash fight. I'm going to be giving you guys the best rundown that I can in this fight. So at the beginning of this fight, we're going to go through a very specific sequence. I'm going to jump over to Matt. I'm not going to go to the defense stance. We're going to cast Recovery Circle, jump back to red. He's going to block the first meteor and Cura it. All right, after this, I'm going to jump back to Matt. He is going to Recovery Circle again, but I'm going to wait in defense stance till right before the meteor comes, then cast it, so we get the double heal on red 13 right there. Red is going to heal him. Then we'll jump back over to Matt for one last Cura after the third meteor in order to take us into the wind bar phase. All right, so that is the best setup I've found for getting through the meteor phase. Now going into this one's a little bit tricky. I had to jump over to Sephiroth at one point in order to stall him, in order for red 13 to get off one more Imperil so that I could break his bar. Now I'll show you guys this in a second. I switched to the defense stance to prompt a heal from red. So right here, I'm waiting on Sephiroth. I very quickly switch to red 13, get off the Imperil right before he gets it, which takes it to high and breaks the bar. So it can be really, really, really important there if you're running Sephiroth to time his hits so that you land that last one with the Imperil at max. All right, other than this, we're just doing some damage. I get off a Theatrical Strike with Sephiroth to prepare for this next part of the fight right here. All right, so I'm just going to leave it in defense, pop the Recovery Circle. All right, as soon as that goes off, we will get off the Stardust Ray. We're going to break the physical attack of the boss right here. All right, now he's going to have the double rakes incoming. My goal at this point in time is to do as much damage with Sephiroth as possible. All right, so I'm going to jump over to Sephiroth. There comes the rake. We're going to block it. Okay, there's always a second one right after it. There you go. We're going to cast Recovery Circle right here. This is going to take us into the Irate Sigil phase. On this phase, Sephiroth always does one Theatrical Strike to start it off, just because you don't want his buff wearing off during the interruption phase, that he can do as much damage as possible. So here you can spam Gale Strike up to 3 times. Matt is going to use Recovery Circle without switching the defense stance. If the character's HP is not super low, you don't need to switch to defense. You can keep them attacking and just leave it on red. All right, you'll see me do this periodically throughout this fight, where I don't always switch to defense in order to heal with him. All right, so here I'm going to pop Vanquishing X, remove the boss's physical attack, and double it up with Ardent Flare so that Sephiroth does not have to recast his buff right here, guys. He can just go straight into damage, because this is going to be the phase where the boss heals himself, and I want to maintain as much damage as possible and not let him heal as much as possible. All right, so here comes Recovery Circle. I did switch to defense there just because everyone's around half, okay? But from this point, I'm going to let Matt just do his thing with the sigil breaking, block the first rake. If it takes you too long to break this sigil phase, the second rake will come. So just keep an eye on that. All right. So other than that, we're just bombing down Gale Strikes with Sephiroth. Okay. At this point in time, I'm going to Recovery Circle. As you can see there, I didn't switch to blue at all in order to maximize our defense. I'm going to cast one more Recovery Circle without switching over so that our physical defense buff is high right here going into the Meteorite phase. It's important not to go into this Meteorite phase with super low HP. This way, Matt can heal right here, right off the bat, and we're basically ready to go. Now, this part of the fight, I think, is the hardest part, coming back into the Meteor phase after going through the first cycle, and that's because the ATB of your characters at the beginning of the fight is set in stone. Now it's not. It can be anywhere, and it's tricky on the timing. So I'm going to wait here on Matt. We're going to cast Recovery Circle without switching over so we don't prompt Red to heal, okay? Now I'm going to wait with Red and hopefully get this off before Matt heals me when I switch over to Blue. Okay, so I'm going to quickly switch back to Red once I get off that heal. We're going to cast a second Recovery Circle, jump back over to Red. He's going to tank it right here perfectly. Honestly, this was the hardest thing for me to get down, was this exact second phase right here. All right, we block the Meteor, Matt gets off the heal, and we are officially through the crux of the fight. If you can make it through this point, you can win this fight, granted you have enough DPS. All right, so Red's going to take that hit. We're going to switch back. I make my only mistake in the fight here. I casted this Rolling Claw too soon, and I missed the first time. He lags a bit right there when he switches into that stance. It's okay because, as you can see, I'm going to jump to Seph at one point, and I'm going to slow him down once I cast Ardent Flare here in order to increase the damage on the Wind Bar as well. All right, so we're going to get off this Limit Break right here. All right, there we go. Now, going to jump over to Red. Sephiroth is going to cast Gale Strike. And because we got off that Ardent Flare, he's going to be able to fully break that bar. It is easier to break the Wind Bar the second time around than the first. Okay, other than that, we're going to heal Red and essentially do as much damage as we can, preparing for this next Greater Rush right here. I'm going to jump back over to Matt. Okay, and we're going to block this hit right here. All right, so there is the Greater Rush. I'm going to immediately Recovery Circle right here. Sometimes I will do a couple attacks with Sephiroth and Red just to get them prepared before I do Stardust Ray. So I'll wait till they hit. Boom. Get that off. We got it off right in time before that Rake, which would have hurt pretty bad with that massive physical attack buff up. So there comes the Stardust Ray. Now I'm prepared to block this Rake and heal with Matt. So that was perfect timing all around. All right, we're going to switch back and then quickly switch back again for the second Rake, which is going to take us into the second Irate phase right here. At this point, I'm just going for maximum damage right here as much as possible, although it can still be sometimes tricky to break that bar. So just keep an eye on it right there. As you guys can see, I didn't need to cast that Aurora, or I did on Sephiroth needed to cast it. He barely got it off, but thankfully he did. So at this point, we're just going to wait until the very end, switch over to defense. All right, and it's looking great on the HP bar right here. Now, at this point in time, he's not going to go back into Mend. In a lot of instances, he'll go into Meteorite Arrival at this point, especially in co-op. I thought that he was going into Meteorite Arrival right here, so I just forsaked healing at this point and just went for it. But as you can see, he's actually going into his regular Meteorite phase, I think, right here. So yeah, Meteorite Cluster, right? So I'm pretty sure that I could have survived this, but I decided to say screw it, get off as many imperils as I could. I forsaked all of my healing, and I decided to just go for it with Sephiroth on the DPS. I did use my Limit Break right here to grant me a little bit of extra time and one last imperil with Red 13 just so that it didn't fall off. All right, so I'm going to switch over to Red. He might get it off. I think he doesn't quite get it off. 93,000 damage right there. So pretty insane. And Sephiroth is going to get off this final Gale Strike right here. Thank God, because he was targeted next and it would have been brutal. So yeah, guys, that was my solo clear Definitely a really hard crash fight. I'm still like on the fence as to whether or not this one was harder than the Astral Iron Giant. I think both of them were really quite hard, but definitely a super hard fight and really requiring of very specific pieces of gear. But that being said, either way, I hope this video helps you guys. If you have any questions, hit me up at the comments below. Come join our Discord. There's a link to join in the description of all my videos. Like I said, if you're trying to get your crash clear, we'll be doing it Monday, May 27th at noon PDT. One more time, Monday, May 27th, which is actually today when you guys will be getting the video. At noon PDT. We'll get you guys your clear. That being said, if you guys enjoyed this video today, don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis content. Hope you all have a wonderful night. Take care and peace.